you can't go live until you get to 1,000 followers.
On TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you can go audio. You can go on audio at 500, but you can't go visual until 1,000. But I can't get really monetized until I'm 5,000. And then they've just introduced that the shop part.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing pros and cons about that. I mean, that's I can answer you that one on another night, but I don't know. Olivia, what platforms are you on?
Just right now, just Instagram and TikTok. But Instagram, I've been fighting Instagram. Like, I only get views on Instagram really if somebody reposts something. So that's been my struggle. Like, if I have the, tag everybody that I worked with for that day in that video and they just keep reposting it, that's how I reach, like, maybe 1,000 or something like that. But as far as TikTok, it's more like, hashtag automatic. Like, I get those views so much easier without having to do anything.
Yeah.
So
Do you let
been my
anybody do
struggle.
stitches? Do you have it set up where you let people do stitches of your stuff?
I
think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look into that because I just
follow me on all
started.
platforms. I put it in there, and I'll follow you back. I'm a
Okay.
stay-at-home like mom person. I don't work, so
Yeah.
I'll like share y'all stuff or whatever. Trust me.
Yes, Danielle's
Yeah.
super supportive, and Danielle, what I appreciate is you always trying to connect with people that are in the community, and again, that's
And
again the
us.
whole point of why I wanted to make this is for us to collaborate with each other. Who knows, you might find an opportunity to have each other's on your platforms. Just get ideas, reach out to each other, like, hey, what are you doing right? Because Daniela does have a good following on TikTok. If y'all trying to grow on TikTok, reaching out to Daniela on what she's doing right, is, definitely something that might be, in the cards for you, and vice versa. Like Tamara has a good Instagram following. So reaching out to Tamara and be like, okay, what's working for you and how are you engaging your audience? Like, this is what we're here for. And that's the whole point of a community. And, just going back to, the importance of being on YouTube, because it doesn't matter if you on TikTok, if you on Instagram, if you on Facebook, if you posting YouTube shorts, you posting on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you posting your short form content, every once in a while, these apps are going to incentivize you to post on their app a little bit more, which is why TikTok, has ways to monetize when you have a certain amount of followers, which is why at one point Instagram was monetizing creators. They was giving you all those little bonuses, right? And then now what happened? All of a sudden they stopped giving out those bonuses. It's just because they have these periods where they want to incentivize people to post content on their page more. But what's not going to change is YouTube. YouTube is like, if you can always post clips on Instagram, you can always post clips on TikTok, but you need to start building a platform on your YouTube, because YouTube is right now one of the top platforms, or is the top platform to put your content on, because it's the second largest search engine in the world next to Google, and Google owns YouTube. So it's like, why not put your content on YouTube? Because that is how you're going to get your content to live on forever. Like, it's there forever, and it is searchable. Like your Instagram posts not as searchable as YouTube posts. TikTok posts not searchable. Like, if somebody was to search something on Google, they may not find your post talking about that topic on TikTok or on Instagram. But if you made a YouTube video about it, if they search it on Google, that YouTube video is popping up in that search result. So it's like, that's just another reason. Like, if you want to get found, if you want to grow an audience, if you want to build a personal brand, start building that personal brand on YouTube and be transparent about your process. You ain't got to share, all the nits and bits of your personal life and everything like that, but just be honest and transparent about your journey, about where you are, with some of the goals you have, with your audience, because that authenticity is also what allows you to grow and build that audience as well. Your avatar is going to appreciate that from you. Like, when your avatar is trying to figure out the next person that they can binge their content and learn and grow with, they're looking at the person that's open, honest, and transparent.
Got it.
Yep. So going back into this book, right? Because it's like, I really would like to make this like not like a book club. Like we're not gonna sit here and like read the book together, but each month or every 6 weeks, I want to give y'all some time. Like I do want us reading the same book, and I want us to relate our lessons to the book because I'm always gonna pick a book that is related to you know personal development and content creation. It's gonna have something to do with that. This book is heavily on the on the personal development, but I found some way to relate it to content creation. The next book we're gonna be reading is this book right here, Creating Superfans. This look, yo, I already done finished the book, but I'm ready to read it again because I read it with some of the parents at the school I work with. And this book right here, if you are trying to build a community, which I advise,
That's what I'm trying to do.
yeah, if you try and build a community, like read this book because this is going to help you treat each member you get into your doors like gold. And when you have members that feel like they are gold, they start becoming evangelists to your community. They start building the community for you. And the things that they say about you, when you offline, online, it's going to be the same. It's going to be great things. It's going to make people like, well, shoot, why ain't you tell me about this community sooner? This book is amazing. And it's a 10 out of 10 recommend. You could get it on Audible. I like to read and listen to the book at the same time, but this is what we're going to be reading. I think in the next 2 weeks, because for those who have started reading this book, we are on the last part, which is execute. Which I like this part because we're talking about how we can make doing the vital things most effortless. The execute. So this is the last part, which means we got about like 70 more pages in this last part before we finish this book and we move on to Creating Superfans. So if you
Excuse me,
want to just go ahead. What was that, Daniela?
can you hold up the the white one
Yeah.
so I can
Uh,
screenshot that?
yeah. Essentialism by Greg McCone.
Okay,
The Disciplined
thank you.
Pursuit of Less. Yeah, you're welcome. So this book, again, like why I like it so much is just because it just helps you always check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? It's like, am I doing too much? Am I volunteering myself for stuff I have no business volunteering for? And if you need to just build the muscle memory of just getting used to telling people no or being able to identify if you are an essentialist or not, start by your closet, right? Now, ladies, I think this might be a little challenging for y'all. It may not be, right? But go into your closet and take all the clothes off your hangers and pick them up one by one and ask yourself, do I love this? Do I love the way I look in this? Right? If you asking yourself, when the last time I worn this, and you try like, oh, I might wear it for this or I might wear it for that, like that means it's time to get rid of it. Give it to get goodwill. Give it to your auntie, your uncle, somebody, right? Whoever need it, you don't need it. But that's just starting. That's starting to practice the whole point of essentialism. So once you do that, then you could take it to the next level. Then you can start looking at your activities. Start writing down all the things you do every day. Start writing down the things you're doing on a weekly basis. Start writing down the people you giving a lot of time to, and then just create an audit. Like, does this person or does this activity deserve more time than I give them right now? And I had an interesting interview with a guy who was talking about what he was doing when he didn't have no money. Especially he took the practice of tithing, like giving tithes in the church. And he was like, I don't have no money, so it's like the church always gets my time. Like, one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show up. But he started taking that practice into himself, and he was like, okay, if I don't have no money right now, all I have is time. I need to start tithing to myself. So he started treating each of his hours of his day like money. So every hour was $100. So he would always budget $240 to himself. It was like, I'm gonna pay myself $240 a day. But he was really just committing 2 hours and 40 minutes to himself, to his craft. That's one thing, right? But when you take it a step further, he was also, when he was having a hard time committing to that 2 hours and 40 minutes, he had to come up with an audit of the people and the things that he was giving his time to that was not allowing him to give that time to himself. And he started asking himself, would I pay this person $100? And if you wouldn't pay that person $100, then you don't need to give them an hour of your time. So if you got some friends that, they asking you to come out and you are in a point where he's like, would I give them $100 right now? If the answer is no, then maybe keep that hour to yourself and work on what you need to do to get to from here to here. And whether it's trying to build your community, whether it's trying to build your platform, build this brand up, whatever you got to do, like it's activities that you could be doing every day to make yourself a little bit better and just understanding the game, whether it's just doing some research on YouTube, whether it's hitting up ChatGPT for some prompts and some ideas, whether it's reaching out to some guests and some people that you can network with, whether it's whatever it might be, picking up the book and reading for a nice little hour. You could be doing so many things right now. So just asking yourself, like, would you give this person $100? And if not, then keep your hour and invest it into yourself.
That's crazy that you're saying that, because maybe 2-3 months ago, I
Mhm.
started reading this author called Jen Sincero, and I have the book right here, and it's in here too. This one,
Mm.
everything that you just said is in this book, and that's what I do every morning. Like before I get on my phone, anything, I just read for like an hour
I
and just
love it.
get my mind right. So
That's good that you do
yeah.
that before you pick up your phone too, because like
Oh
the
yeah.
phone is the biggest distraction. You know,
Sorry,
we'll
I
tell
missed it. Could
ourselves we
you hold
gotta.
that up again?
What
Oh,
was it?
the
Our book.
Sincero. I don't know if you can see it because I got this ring light, but that's it. She
I
has
got
like,
it.
okay, cool. She has like
I've
6
heard. I
other
think I've
books.
seen
So
that one somewhere else
I
before.
love them. They're in Target on sale right now for like $10. So I got
It
this
might have
one
been
for
it.
$20. Yeah. But yeah, she's dope.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, and we get information when we get it. It's like it's no coincidence that we get information when we get it because everything is divine, especially timing. So it's like I think you was just meant to hear it to just double down on that point and just also assure you that you're doing the right things. One thing that I do like first thing in the morning and before I go to bed is I take a look. Now, unfortunately, mine is in my phone, which I mean I just can't find no better way for me to do it. But I got this thing that I do every night and morning, which is in my notes. I created this little like it's probably not best this way. Let me see if I could share it in my notes. Yeah, here we go. Boom. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna share it on my screen. But it's called the draining matrix. So I started doing this draining matrix just to kind of like plug in like my activities. So you see, I got like today, I got this week, I got next week, this quarter, next quarter, quarter one, quarter, and then quarter two, right, will be right here. And these are all my past quarters. But the reason why I call it the draining matrix is because I start off with like writing down things I want to get done in quarter one, and then I start working backwards. So like what are some things that I could focus on this week that are going to get me closer to my quarter one goals or this quarter's goals? And then once I have a weekly to-dos, then every night I look at my weekly to-dos and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today? Or what do I need to do tomorrow? And then I'll wake up in the morning and this is the first thing I look at. Okay, what's on my agenda for today? And the reason why I like doing this is because you think about it. You exert so much energy throughout the day thinking about what you need to be doing next and what you could be doing better than what you're doing right now. But like when I get the chance to wake up and the first thing I see is like, okay, I got this, and that, I get to now relax because I feel like my day's already prepped for me.
Right.
Like it's a reason why some people get so comfortable at a job because you got somebody telling you what to do as opposed to the entrepreneur. You got to go out and get it. So it's like that's why so many people are not entrepreneurs because we would much rather just be told what to do. This is your opportunity to tell yourself what to do before you have to do it, and then you get into your day and you already got your day mapped out. And then I just love checking it off. Like it's just satisfying being able to hit that button and to check something off the list. And then here's the thing I love the most about the checklist. Anything that's on this week, right? Like let's say, okay, it's Tuesday, tomorrow's gonna be Wednesday. I might think of something I need to do. I'm not adding that to this week. it's automatically going into next week. That's the only reason why I have next week's to-dos on here, is because it's meant for me to not overexert myself or continue to put tasks on my to-do list. I thought of this week's to-dos on Sunday. I locked it in on Sunday. So that means Monday, if I think of something else, it most likely wasn't urgent because I was very intentional on the time I spent Sunday coming up with my to-dos. So if I came up with something on Monday that I could also be doing, I'm automatically going to add it to next week's to-dos. It could get done next week because I already have to-dos that I need to get done this week, and I'm not here to play games, because that's how you're going to end up checking off some and then not checking off the others, because now you just creating more work for yourself. And this is meant for you to just drain your mind into actionable tasks that you actually going to fulfill and get the job done. So that's
I
kind of
do something like that myself. I do that with timers on my phone.
Okay, yeah, I used to use the time.
Like, and then now that like the Google hubs and things like that, and I've been trying to get my son to do that, because I'm like, I'm not going to be with you in college next year. You gotta, you gotta know when to do this and all that other stuff. Like, I even trained him to like put a 30-minute timer on for the washer, because the washer mode always only takes 30 minutes. So yeah, like a different therapist and different people will kind of get you to do that. And now that we have all this technology, you might as well use it to do that.
Yeah, timers is a good way for you to, especially if you got one of those obnoxious timers. Like I was using timers just to kind of make sure I could like knock out my push-ups. Like if I'm doing push-ups, I put timers in my phone like every 2 hours to make sure I just bang out, some push-ups here and there, just so I can stay active, especially if I know I'm not going to get to the gym a certain day. Those push-ups and those timers definitely were helpful.
You about to
What
have
do
a
y'all
real
use?
good timer.
Yeah.
That baby about to time you.
Yeah, the baby gonna definitely time me. What are some things y'all using right now to keep yourselves organized, Tamara and Olivia?
Just this little notebook. I have so many notebooks. I feel like writing, I don't know, maybe it's therapeutic to me. I just like to write. Like if I put something in my notes, it gets lost for some reason, or I just don't focus on it. So I've been kind of doing the same thing, just making those lists for the week, like the month, but just putting it in my notebook.
Okay.
But I also have an iPad too, so I have the little digital planner in there too.
Okay. So you're using a planner, journaling. What about you, Tamara?
My notebook too, and honestly, that's not helping that much.
The notebook?
I have this planner, but like
Yeah, I don't look
going
at my
inside
notebook
of
that
it
often.
and all that, huh?
I don't look at my notebook that often. So
I
that's why it don't work for me.
know. It just doesn't work for me. Like, I think I need something better, like alarm clock helps. Goes off
Yeah.
and just tells me what to do. But I'm always up like near my computer because I go to the office a lot, to my office, and I'm just always like on my computer. So that's what helps me.
Mhm.
I'm not that. I'm gonna be 100. I'm not that organized.
Mm.
Help with that.
Yeah. One thing I was listening to this study. I forget where I found this study at, but I did hear like just our brains and how they operate. It takes us about an hour and a half to transition into two totally different tasks and stuff like that. So like it also is best like when you are thinking of your to-dos to try to group your to-dos by like category. So like don't do one thing that might be like content creation and then the next task you got to do is like organize organize something, right? Because it's like you're using a different part of your brain, so it's going to take you a lot longer to transition into the mode of content creation to organizing, and then you wasting more time to where if you just, okay, if you're in the mode of creation, maybe, creating the content plan, writing down topics, writing out your script and then creating the content, those are all tasks that are related to each other. So that way you're able to kind of knock out those to-dos and, maintain that momentum of time and energy and effort without losing too much momentum that way. But that's it. That's kind of what I got for y'all. Like it's really like getting into this book. If y'all going to order the book, cool. I would definitely recommend this read. Just keep in mind that the next book we start in 2 weeks is going to be Creating Superfans. So if you're interested, go ahead and order that book as well, and listen to it on Audible. Whether I like Audible, I listen to my books and I read them because I like hard copies. But if you just like listening to them, go ahead and just get on Audible and download this book. It's a super good read. The author herself reads it and she has like a nice little cheery voice, so it's not like a boring listen either. So that's what I like about the book, and that's what we're going to be focusing on these next couple weeks, is just building community, engaging an audience, how to analyze and read your analytics so that you can better engage your audience. I think that's what I kind of want to go into next Tuesday, is just like how to pick this information that we call analytics off of YouTube, off of Instagram, and then how can we pick that apart to be able to tell a story of our audience and how we can better engage with the audience, and just more importantly, different techniques and different ways that you as a podcaster and content creator, that you can monetize your content without having, millions of views, thousands of, subscribers, like little things that you can do by slowly getting there. And as you're getting there, still be able to make some coin so that you can do things like invest in Opus Clips. So you can do things like maybe get an editor, maybe get a virtual assistant part-time and stuff like that. So you could just do a little bit less while still focusing on, the integrity and the creativity of your brand. So that's what we're going to be focusing on these next couple weeks. Before I let y'all go, y'all got any questions for me?
I need help, to be honest with you, with my
Yeah.
podcast. So, like I was telling you, I stopped for a little bit, but I don't know, like, about rebranding it. I was thinking about changing the name. Like, I feel like I've been in this planning period for such a long time, and I'm ready to just get a team and like take action on what I'm doing. But like my name right now is Tamara Speaks Podcast, which I had stopped for a little bit, like I said. But like I don't know if I should rename it to, because what I want to do with my podcast, what I want it to be about, which it was about before, was having like women share their testimony. However, I want to open it up a little bit more, so it's not just women, primarily women, but men and women. Because I have like some people who are asking me, hey, can I be on your, like guys who are like, can I be on your podcast? And I was like, it's just for women. But I know that men need help too. So I want to open that up for them. And I just want I want it to be like a storytelling type of podcast where they're vulnerable. They share their story about any like traumatic like relationship problems or any like issue they had like regarding relationships in general, whether it's like your family relationships or like boyfriend, different things like that, to share that story and be relatable to my audience and things like that. So I was thinking about changing the name maybe to You're Safe Here podcast, but I don't know if I want to. I just thought about that today. And I've asked like different people's opinions, which is something I feel like I mess up on, because I get different people's opinions and then I get like lost. I'm like, what do I do? Like this sounds good, and then it doesn't, like. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like I spoke to one of my homegirls. She wants to hop on and do an episode with me on Saturday. We set that up, and I don't really feel like I have that much of an issue with getting people on the podcast. I think it's just like the systems on the back end. I'm not a huge system person. Like I need like the system to be good on the back end. And I'm good with like just recording it, you know what I mean? But the systems, that's where I have like a huge issue with when it comes to my podcast.
Yeah, no, I get that. And
I know I said a lot.
no. In all that you said, I heard that I want to rebrand, but it's just you don't feel confident enough in the decision to rebrand. And I'll say it like this: I think rebranding would be a great idea for you, especially since you spent some time away. It will give you the opportunity to start fresh, give a new vibe to your audience, give a new feeling. And then in that new feeling and new vibe, people are going to you know, feel like things are different. They might get a little bit more trust with you because, you know, the thing about when you go away for a little bit, you do lose trust in your audience.
Yeah.
They don't know if you're going to get back to posting consistently. You know, they may get a little bit more stingy with the commenting and the liking and the sharing and stuff because now they don't trust you. So like I would think when you take these hiatuses, um, I would say rebranding is going to be a good way to do the relaunch, and then now this way you can be much more strategic with the relaunch because you do a rebrand. And you know, I love when people have the passion and they want to put their names, you know, on everything. Like whatever floats your boat. Me personally, I think that is for people who already have the social proof, who already have an audience. Like Joe Rogan could name his podcast the Joe Rogan Show because he was on Fear Factor for like 20 seasons. Joe Budden got the Joe Budden podcast because he got an audience from when he was in hip hop. But it's like it's just
I
tough.
noticed that.
Yeah, it's tough for you to put your name, even if it's even if it's like a like an alias you give yourself. It's tough for you to grow a brand with your name because the name, especially for the name of your show, it is the first impression of your audience gets of the show. So when people put their name on the show that they don't have a personal brand built behind that name yet, it gives your show a harder chance for people to engage and, you know, relate to the show because they don't relate to you yet. Like we still trying
Yeah,
to learn who
that's
you
true.
are. So it's
Yeah.
like it's easier for people to learn who you are when they relate to your show. But if they don't relate to your show, they're definitely not going to learn and relate to you. So I would
Yeah.
definitely put some thought behind, you know, the name with the rebrand this time, and, you know, really dive deep and think about who your audience is. What are they coming to your show for? What conversations are they coming to you for? Where do they really want to lean in? What types of guests are they excited to hear from? And answering those questions is going to give you ideas on that new name, whether it's, you know, You're Safe Here, or whether it's the Safe Place Show, like the Safe Space Show, something like that. Like something that just makes people feel.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
because I'm having like people on my show talking about like certain like relationships that they've been in. So I want them to know like they're safe, like to talk about what they want to talk about and being authentic. So like for example, for my first show, for my first episode, I have a girl who's coming on. She's gonna be talking about her relationship with a guy that she like she did a TV show with, and how like basically like it was pretty like the relationship, y'all gonna see the episode, but well hopefully y'all do. But basically like the relationship was kind of fake because it was like reality TV. So the proposal was fake, and I'm gonna ask her how that made her feel, how did that affect her, the fact that he was playing for TV, different things like that. Like so it's just gonna be like relationship based on different spectrums, and her being vulnerable and sharing that. So yeah, I'm trying to find like a name.
I say it would be a really good idea for you, Tamara, would be to not try to think of his name in your room. Don't go to work and don't sit in the office try to think of his name. Like maybe you need to take a drive, go somewhere you never been before, spend some time by yourself, and really just just meditate on it. Like you being somewhere you never been before is going to have you thinking about stuff you never thought of before. So, and one of those things is guaranteed to be the name. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks, and you know you just might be in places where you just are being blocked by pragmatic thinking because you're in these environments that you know you're in a we're all in, you know, echo chambers all day every day. The more time we spend in an environment, every time we go in that environment, we now enter this echo chamber. And right now you getting fed these echoes of what used to be. Go into
Yeah,
somewhere new so that you can really think of what needs to be instead of, you know, based on what it used to be. And I think you're going to get that name, and it's going to be something so out of the box you might not even put podcasts on it, and that's okay. Like if I
yeah,
had to go back, I
I'm
wouldn't even
okay
put
with that.
podcasts on my show because we're not trying to create, and I say podcast because that's the word that we identify with, but our goals is not to start podcasts. You think about what
Yeah.
a podcast is, it's an audio show. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But we try, our goal is to create shows. You
Yeah.
know,
TV
we're
shows.
yeah. So
That's what I was
you
thinking.
don't even necessarily got to put podcasts on it. Think
Mhm.
so out of the box that when people listen to your show, it's something like they say out loud, and people like, "Oh, what's that? What's that about?" When your guests shout out the show, it's like they say it and they was like, "Yeah, I was on this, and that," and it's like you got to have that. They got to have that feeling like every time you say it's it's how they y'all ever watch All That? It's like how hyped they was to say it's all that. Like that's the feeling you want people to have when they say they was on your show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So I'm guessing I should reschedule. Like, I feel like I'm trying to move so fast right now because I've been neglecting my audience. So
mhm,
now that I'm like back into a better headspace, I'm just ready to just go, 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 go. And I've
yeah,
already already contacted her to come on the show, to record, to do everything. I don't have everything together yet, but I'm just like
yeah.
gonna like
How
make things
how long your
happen.
audience been without you for?
It's been very like consistently, it's been like because I do it I post every once in a while, but I used to post every single day.
Mhm.
But I would say on a consistent basis, I would say about a month and a half
So
consistent posting.
what's 2 more weeks? What's 3 more weeks? You know what I'm saying? Like I
You'll be
went
like,
on.
you disappearing. We don't know you no more. After 6 days,
it's
you
it's it's
ghost.
it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right because when you do the relaunch, you're gonna strategically do it this time, and it's like
Mhm.
they're gonna have no choice but to wake up. Like I went, I went 3 months without interviewing, without posting on my YouTube channel, and this is most recently. Like I just dropped my last. Like I just started back up. Let me go back to. I just put out a new. Just started new episodes airing 3 weeks ago. And from there, I went 3 months without posting a new episode, without probably even longer than that. I might even be 5 months if I look back. Right. And so it is sometimes the hiatus is necessary for you to build in the backgrounds to make it better. To just going back to the Chinese bamboo tree, right? Like that Chinese bamboo tree grows for 5 years and 3 days. And a lot of people just see, okay, in 3 days, it shot up 90 feet. But what nobody sees is that the roots the whole time was growing for 5 years. So like it don't matter if it take you a month and a half, it don't matter if it take you 5 months to do the rebrand. If you building out the roots the right way, when you come back, it's gonna go from here to here because you have a much stronger foundation. You have a much more solid foundation. You have a show that has a target audience. You have a show that has content pillars. You have a show that has a guest profile, audience profile. Is like, and the reason why you want all these is because now you got a foundation where you can have one follower, you can have 10,000 followers. You have a foundation where you can identify a need and you now can create offers that satisfy that need. Like I have like with literally only 1,400 subs, and I got videos that got right now, I got videos that only got 11 views. Like I'm not capping on this. Like I got some videos that do 11 views. I got some that do 1,000. I got some that do 15,000. But for the most part, I got videos that got 11 views, but I have a podcast that's able to bring in 3,000, 5,000, $8,000 a month because it's like you able to identify the audience, you're able to identify your guests. And then when I really know my guests and I really know my audience, I can create offers that speak to them. I'm not really speaking to the people who ain't following me yet. Y'all late to the party. I got people that's been rocking with me, whether they watching and they one of 11 or they one of 19,000. I'm still gonna put out the content. I got my foundation, and that's all I'm worried about. So take
So
your
what
time, make sure
so
you're
what
doing it right.
steps do you take to build your foundation?
So if I could give you 3 steps to building out your foundation, you want to start off with your content pillars. You want to identify, okay, so 4 steps. Your content pillars, your guest profile, your avatar profile, and your name. You come up with those 3 things first, the name gonna come. You come up with your content pillars, your guest profile, and your avatar profile, the name gonna come naturally because the name is gonna speak to those 3 things. The name is gonna speak to your content pillars. My content pillars are entrepreneurship, money, and mindset, right? Those are my content pillars. Those are the 3 things that my content is gonna go over 2, if not all 3 of those things. Like, I'm gonna have an episode and it's gonna cover either mindset and money, or it's gonna cover mindset and entrepreneurship, money and it's gonna cover 2 minimum of those 3 content pillars. Next, you got your avatar. Who are you talking to? Who is this content for? Who is digesting this content the most? Why do they need this content? Why are they searching this content on YouTube? What position are they in right now? What emotions are they going through right now? What support system do they have right now? And then you got your guest profile. Who would, like, if you have guests, if you're doing this solo, then you got to dive a little bit deeper into the questions like, why does my audience need this conversation? What are they, who do they have in their circle right now? What resources can I point them to? That's like if you go on real solo. But if you bring in on guests, which I recommend, if you're not like a expert in something, bring on some guests because it makes the conversation more organic for you, easier for you to just moderate and stuff like that. And now you want to figure out, okay, what type of guest do I need? What professions are they coming from? What experiences have they went through? What offers do they have? What value do they bring? Are they good at, like, what is the profile of your ideal guest? So you get those 3 things answered. By the time you can answer those 3 things, it's like the names is like clear as day. It's like, this is what I need to call the show because these are the types of guests I'm bringing to my audience. This is my target audience, and these are my content pillars. This is the name right here. You start there, you got yourself a show, and this could be something that you can literally map out with an intentional weekend or a day outside of the space that you're currently in right now. So that's kind of where I would start. And
what do you think about passion when it comes to like doing this? Do you think it should be more of like whatever you know how to do best, teach that and do that, or do you think it should lie more on like what you're passionate about as far as your content?
I mean, if you think about it right this, like, because that's a loaded question. If it's something that I know how to do and I do really good, it's most likely because I'm passionate in it in some way. Like, it's hard for me to be really good at stuff that I'm not passionate about because I wouldn't put that much attention on it to be really good at it. But that's just me. I know people who might be in a different position where they're really good at things that they hate. But for me, I'm really good at things that I happen to be passionate about. And you want to consider your podcast as the first level of your funnel. Your podcast is the way to speak to the people that classify themselves as their avatar. I'm not talking to you, Siri. And then after that, you might have your niche. Like, you get super focused on your niche. So for example, right, I got the $1 Million Mind podcast. That's the beginning of the funnel. So that speaks to, 9-to-5ers that want to be entrepreneurs, that want to tap into their mindset, want to get better with money, yada, yada, yada. And then I'm more specific on my content creation and producing, being a creative director. So I help people with content creation. So that's why I do the lives. So now we get into the second tier of the funnel. You get more specific on what your niche is. That's how you create your offers. So you have the podcast that brings your guests to you, that brings your audience to you. And then right there, you have some type of offer from the people like, oh, I really like this podcast. I really like this brand. I really like this host. What else do they have to offer? And then now you have what you're good at, how you can teach people, how you can add value. You have these other things. So, for me, I have the community, but then I have other things like producing, clip creation, and then we also have like an offer for the guests specifically. Like the guests get on the show, and they'll get on the show thinking they getting a whole free interview, and the next thing I know, I hit them with a, "Hey, if you also interested, you can get XYZ, and this is the ticket for it." And I'll close about 80% of them. So it's like just from there, now you can see how having no audience, if you getting guests on your podcast, that's free lead generation. So if I was y'all, I'm also not just thinking about how I can make money from my audience and how I can make money off of YouTube. I'm thinking like, how can I maximize the time that I'm already going to be spending with these guests? How can I create something that's of value to them and also sell them on that, since I'm already going to have them in the room with me for an hour? So if you got guests that are, let's say all the guests that you have are speakers, and I'm just throwing bullshit out here at this point, right? All my guests are like in the medical field, and they are all doctors, and they are doctors of, like, let's say cardiologists, right? If I'm having a podcast about heart health and cardiology, and all my guests are doctors of or cardiologists, it would be wise of me to have like a partnership with some type of like pharmaceutical or some type of like heart health plan, heart health something that I could then pitch to my guests when they come into my room and they talking to me for an hour. I'm like, "Oh yeah, are you using this for your patients?" And then it's like, now I get really good content and I get to monetize the guests that I had in the room because I have something of value to them that I can offer to them. And then 80% of them is gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I never even heard of that. I'm not offering that to my clients. Let me pay you X amount for that service or that value." So that's another way that I'm thinking, if I'm a small podcast, is like, how can I double down with monetizing my guests and my audience?
I think that's where I'm stuck at right now because I feel like I'm biting off more than I can chew and everything is everywhere. So I think I have that, like, that part set up as far as like, offering something else, because I also do public relations.
Mm,
So all these celebrities that I'm working with, I'm able to kind of just set them up with other people to get them, able to perform at events and stuff like that. But I do want to, like, what do you suggest, like, as far as I want to separate? Like, I just want my podcast to be he said, she said, and then I want myself to still like do little interviews, like be my own brand. So what do you suggest, like how to, I guess like merge into that? Because I don't want everything to be all mashed together. Because right now it seems very like everything is so compact.
right. And I mean, this may not be the answer you're looking for, but I would ask you, why separate it?
Hmm.
Because it's like, it's ways for you to, like, if I go back to my page again and I show y'all, like, y'all see how I got a whole row of these like quotes and stuff like that, and then on this panel is usually going to be like, okay, here's where you can really see the difference, because this is when I was like doing this consistently. On here you see like the quotes, and then over here you see talking content of me in the car, right?
Hmm.
It's like, the reason why I was doing those pillars is so that people can easily identify, the different types of content, because there's nothing wrong with having multiple types of content. That's actually really good to have.
I
And
used to do that.
yeah, it's really good to do that. So it's like, you can still have on your page clips from your podcast and clips of you out, at events interviewing guests.
Right.
But
Okay.
but the difference would be, right,
Hmm.
is, so you see, this is what I would favor: your interviews that you do with the celebrities. I would favor that more on your personal page, where
Hmm.
then the podcast page still has, you still have a podcast page. So I can actually go from,
Right.
so it's like, if I go to the podcast page, that obviously looks way different than my personal page, but you'll still see I got some clips here that I have on my page. I did this post on my personal page, and I just made myself a collaborator. This
Hmm.
post, this post, like, there are posts that I just collaborate with the podcast page and my personal page. You can do the same thing, but
Yeah.
on your personal page, that's more so your personal brand. The interviews with the celebrities, that's your personal brand. Make that on your personal page, and then once once the podcast is jumping, post mostly like the podcast is for your guests. Like the podcast page, I'm rarely going to post clips of me talking on my podcast page. It's mostly going to just be my guests, because
Right.
to grow it, I want to collaborate with them. I'm
Mhm.
not trying to collaborate with myself. My audience already know I got a podcast. They
Right.
already, most of my audience, if I go to my, like, 135 of my followers is following my podcast. So it's like they clearly know me. So it's like I want to grow my audience. So you do that by, collaborating with your guests. And you want to make good clips for your guests. So they want to accept that collaboration. So again, it's like I don't think you want to make it separate.
Mhm.
Just still find a strategic way to combine them so that your audience isn't confused and they can still see, like, for the people that come to the podcast page, because it's you and your brother at that point, right? The people who come to the podcast page, maybe y'all both have y'all profiles in the description as hosts. And people, some people going to come there for him, some people going to come there for you, and then they're going to follow you, and then they're going to like the things you do outside of the podcast. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's like the Breakfast Club got their page, but Charlemagne still got his own following and his own things. Charlemagne got his own damn podcast outside of the Breakfast
Right.
Club, so it's like, and he promotes both in tandem, so you could do the same thing, no problem.
Okay.
But that was a really good question. Let me we're gonna wrap up in a couple minutes. If y'all, what other questions y'all have before I let y'all go? I know Tamara, you had one loaded question that took us off, but let me know before I let y'all go. Anything else y'all have before next week? None? You good? So Tamara, that mean next week or this weekend or something, you're gonna be working on the name, the pillars, the profiles for your audience and profile for your guests, right?
Mhm.
Bet. Olivia, what's like some of the things you want to focus on this week?
This week, I guess getting that YouTube started. I did make the page last night. But I kind of just want to get in the studio, get into motion, actually get started.
Coolio. Well, I wish the best for y'all on y'all activities. Make sure you come up with a content plan too, Olivia. Like before you even, get to recording, write down them topics. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share in the Discord, Olivia. I'm gonna make sure you're in the Discord as well. In the Discord, I'm gonna share an outline that I use for my podcast. Is like a GPS. It's a good way for you to be able to tell the story in your episodes. We got an acronym we use called IMAGE, stand for inspiration, motivation, action, genuine, and educate. Me following that GPS is what allows me to tell a perfect seamless story in my episodes that kind of walk my my audience through a journey, from point A to point Z. So I'm gonna share that in the Discord, in the resources channel. So y'all make sure y'all go ahead and download that. It's gonna be you'll just have to make a copy because you ain't gonna be able to edit it. So just hit file, make a copy. It's gonna be like a Google slide presentation.
Okay.
All right, coolio. And next week, we're gonna pick things off with more like, podcast production tips. But I want to go more deeper into the monetization strategies that we can use to build community and monetizing guests and the audience, different ways to create these offers.
Okay.
All right, coolio.